I just saw your missed call.
Well, I was only calling because I had a call from Podcast Central saying that somebody was missing.
Joe Rogan.
No, Michael Copperwhite.
Oh, I'm here. I'm here.
How are you, buddy?
I'm terrific. Let me start this by saying happy anniversary
I
to you and
know,
the beautiful Terry.
44
What's it been?
years.
14 years? 24 years? How many years you've been married at this?
44.
And so, would you get married when you were 8?
But you know what the secret is to 44 years, right? You should know.
Probably, but you're going to tell me.
We go out.
I don't.
We go out twice a week.
You do.
She goes on Tuesday and I go on Thursday. So
I've not heard that before.
did the rim shot got
Well,
out?
I heard the whole thing.
Yeah, because I changed the settings. That's what it was. It was automatically crunching.
Leaving at the first 2 beats.
No, it was crunching loud noises. So now it's so
Oh,
we,
I heard that loud and clear. All 3 of those.
so we don't have to go.
Not anymore. We don't.
So listen,
Too much ceiling up there. Look at that.
9/11.
How's that?
Remember where you were when 9/11 happened?
No, I was just going to ask you that. Here we are 20 years ago today. In fact, what time is it? 10 o'clock. So, yes, I was on the Stairmaster at the gym in Shrewsbury, Mass,
Wow.
watching the news, and Matt Lauer came on and said, "We're about to go to a break, but just before we do, we have a report that a plane flew into one of the Twin Towers." And I remember thinking, some guy in a single-engine Cessna, like, what's with this idiot? How do you miss a building?
Yeah, yeah.
That was my first thought. We just, our minds do everything it can not to really, just to put off with something that's so shocking like that. Where were you?
So I was at a sales meeting. I was at a sales job, and one of the guys that was new with us was an ex running back for the Cleveland Browns,
Wow.
and he was always late. So we always wanted to know why he was late. So that day he says, "Well, I was actually outside in the parking lot listening to the radio." So we all left. So what's the big deal? He goes, "A plane just flew into the Twin Towers in the World Trade Center." So we thought he was kidding because there's always a reason. He was a great guy, but he always had these excuses.
Like this guy will
So
say anything to get out of being late. Right.
he convinced us to go outside to listen to his radio in his car because we didn't have a radio inside the office there. And sure enough, it was going on. So I said, "What the heck? This is so crazy." Like everybody else, we thought it was just one small plane or something.
Right.
And then
Were you in Florida? Were you in Florida by then, or were you still in Massachusetts?
I was in Florida, but here's the interesting part. Not interesting, but what I remember vividly. I went out to the field where I was working, and there was a little diner that I used to go when I was working in that area. I'd go into the diner and get a coffee first. And when I walked in, it was like such a weird energy in there, and people were crying, and everybody was looking at this little small TV. So I said, "What's going on?" And then they showed that one of the towers, on fire and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they showed the second plane. I guess it had already hit, but it was like just replaying it. So they said the second plane hit it, and people were just crying. And I was like, "What is going on?" I couldn't believe it.
Hmm.
So then I was walking on businesses, selling advertising, and after the third door, I realized I shouldn't be doing this because nobody wanted to talk about my advertising
Right.
thing. And then Terry was working. She was a trainer for Christian Dior, and
Hmm.
she's doing a school over in Orlando. And because it was our anniversary, they got her an a suite instead of a regular room. And I was supposed to
Right.
spend that night so we could spend the night. Rose petals and stuff, and so they canceled the school. And I came home. I called my boss. Says, "Listen, none of us need to be out there knocking on doors today. Trust me." He says, "Why?" I says, "I'm telling you." And I told him the story about the diner. He says, "This is real." I says, "Yeah, you need to go look into the news."
Oh, he hadn't heard about it yet.
Well, he heard the little part that we heard in the radio when
Right.
Mr. Reynolds told us. But what a crazy thing!
Really crazy. To
You know
this
what?
to this day, if I'm like flipping channels and there's some documentary on around that day, I'm just glued. It's still just so captivating.
Yeah, this morning I watched a thing on 60 Minutes from Australia. They were doing a thing about and they had a guy, one of the guys was a CEO of some company that was in the tower and stuff. And I watched the whole thing. It was just amazing that somebody would be so brutal to do that. Wow,
Yeah, crazy.
it's crazy.
It was, I mean, the country probably still is a little bit in shock, but just shock for days. And I'm remembering some of the, a few days after, like 3 or 4 days after it, then some of the close call stories came out about people who survived and
Oh yeah.
craziness. I got a friend of mine whose brother was in the train, in one of the towers for a sales training. He flew in, he was a national guy, so I don't know where he lived, but not in New York. He was in for a training. And lower than where the plane hit. He was able to get out and literally got out down the street, rounded a corner, and the tower came down. And he had like jet fuel on his clothes, and he was fine and survived. I ended up driving down there almost 2 months later, November of that year, with a good friend of mine, Ron, my concert going buddy, and we were going down for a show down in the village, and then driving back the same night, I think. So we got down there early, and of course it's November by then, so it was dark early. And it was misty, not raining, but just like misty and foggy. And we kind of walked the entire perimeter. And this was only 8 weeks after. It was fencing, and there was flowers and stuffed animals and notes and pictures everywhere. We walked
Yeah.
the whole thing. It was, I don't know what it was. It was very somber and peaceful and awe-inspiring, I suppose. Incredible.
So talking about your concert buddy, how about your new concert buddy, Lynn? Did she like get the lead out?
So we saw Get the Letter last, that was just last Saturday? No, 2 Saturdays ago. And I mean, I've seen them 7 or 8 times, but with COVID, it's been some time. I forgot how good they are. It was just amazing. And Lynn, seeing them for her first time, was blown away. I mean, everybody, it's amazing. And we got talking to this couple because we got there a little bit early. There's this couple right next to us, and we start talking and hit it right off with these guys, actually. And Dave and Pam are their names. And she had said to us before, hey, the guitar player that you know from last time left the band. I'm like, really? And, each of these musicians are a vital part of what's going on.
Yeah.
So she had said, like, during COVID, they're all home, and he realized, like, I kind of like being home. I don't want to do this touring thing anymore. So he left. And I would imagine that they went through a bunch of auditions, and I imagine the guitar player is trying to, so they replaced him with this guy who filled everything perfectly and had his own personality to it. And when the lead singer introduces the band, he kind of makes a joke about, what we look like and what's this guy doing. And
Yeah.
and so this new guitar player has one of these like caps down over his eyes, and he goes, and you're probably wondering what's Rocky Balboa doing in the band. And it's a nice humorous moment, but it was fun. They were amazing. And some good friends of mine saw them the night before. We saw them at a different venue. They were down at Indian Lake in Webster on the lake there on Friday night, and we saw them in New Hampshire on Saturday. And we compared set lists. They were completely different set lists,
Oh yeah.
which is interesting to me, that how much of this music this band knows, and also how the band keeps it fresh for them. They're not doing the same 22 songs every night. They really change it a lot.
Yeah, I seen him twice, and I was going to ask you. There was a lady that came in and sang one song with him. Is she there?
Battle of Evermore. Battle of
Battle of
Evermore.
Evermore. Yeah. Wow. Huh?
So I was talking to my new friend Pam about her, because so you've only seen them twice and you saw that, because I've seen them 8 times and I've only seen that once. And they don't do that often. And it was amazing. She came out from stage left with this black robe on. And so I was asking Pam about it, and she had told me she must know this band pretty well. Apparently that woman passed away from cancer. So, but
Oh,
boy, they pull that off. And of course they do that set in the middle where they kind of all sit down. It's very acoustic. One guy on a mandolin,
oh yeah.
but they played some deep cuts for us in that first set, man. We were hearing stuff like I'm Gonna Crawl and Bring It On Home. I mean, some deep stuff.
Yeah.
And the amount of like the top hits you'd think you'd hear, they didn't play, which was awesome, because the deeper the better. And they always finish, they come out for an encore, and they did 3 songs. And it was Misty Mountain Hop and then Stairway to Heaven, and they finished with Whole Lot of Love. Oh,
Wow. That's awesome.
hold on.
What do you have? Hot tea?
Myself some smart coffee over there. My phone's, can you hear that? My phone's in the other room ringing. I plugged it in and I didn't put it on silent, thinking I might need to take a phone call, which was silly because we're doing this.
Well, you might go get
But
it because you might want to go get it. It's probably our new sponsor.
oh, hang on one second. Yeah, no. Wah, wah. Oh, the Tampa Brady Gronkaneers. 4 touchdowns? Come on.
That's our new sponsor. Did you watch that game?
I did not, but
Wow, it was amazing.
I picked up my son at the airport last night. He flew in from Colorado, and I'm still kind of in the baseball season, and he's starting the football season. So I said, it must be starting. He goes, it started last night, Tampa Bay. And I'm like, who'd they play? He said, Dallas, and who won? And they told me about the 4 touchdowns. It's unbelievable. It's amazing.
Yeah, and then the way he controlled, they were down by 1 point with less than a minute to go, and the way
Tampa
that,
was? I didn't
yeah,
hear that.
and then the way that Brady or the team controlled the ball, so they didn't want to score too quickly because they didn't want to have a chance of it coming back. So they waited down, they brought it down all the way down to field goal zone. 2 seconds left, the new kicker kicked the field goal. It's pretty amazing, actually.
It is amazing.
And the Cowboys played an awesome game, so for us to win was so cool. So
Listen to you, for us to win. Huh?
When your son came from Colorado, did he come in high?
About 32, about 38,000 feet, I think.
Yeah.
Way higher than I'm flying. My little single-engine Cessna 172.
I was going to ask you about your Cessna. How's that going?
It's going really well. I'm excited. Taking my flight lessons and becoming a pilot. It's interesting. It is pretty anxiety-ridden. I mean, this has been a dream for 40 years. But so at first I was surprised, like, I should be excited about this, not nervous. But there's a lot to overcome in terms of anxiety. And literally driving up 190 to go, I'm out of the Pittsburgh airport. Like I'm nervous on the way to this stuff, but every time I do this, it's a little less anxiety, and I'm gaining a little bit more confidence each time around. What I'm doing and what I do in the relationship to the airplane and what we're doing. I got this flight instructor who's amazing, who I have full confidence in. So my last flight was it was a week ago Friday because we had Labor Day, and then Friday yesterday was issue for both of us. So it was a windy day. And we had a very windy land, but learning a lot, having fun, and a little less anxiety every time. It's hard to imagine. I was telling this to him. It's hard to imagine I'm going to get to a place of just complete comfort, but I liken it to like driving a car. And I talk about this when I speak publicly. Talk about how many of us thought on the way here today driving a car about every part of drive. We just do it by automatic behavior.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Embedded memories, and eventually I'll be there with this as well. It's an incredible journey.
So there's a video on YouTube of I think the title of it is "My Friend Does Not Know I'm a Pilot." So this guy told his friend that he was taking lessons, and they go to the plane waiting for the instructor to come out, but this guy was already a full pilot. But he never told his friend. So he has a camera inside the plane, one in the front of it and one in the back, and he's telling the guy, So while he gets here, let me just show you some of the things we have to do. So he's showing them, how to set stuff up in the checklist that they have to go through. And then he takes his friend's seatbelt and puts it on, and puts his seatbelt on, and says, and then before we take off, when the guy gets here, we have to call the tower. So he starts calling the tower to show them how it's done, and he gets clearance to take off. So he starts going down the runway, and his friend's like, what's going on? What's going on? And then he takes off, and his friend is like, so scared, but he's trying to be cool about it. It was so amazing. You would love it. If I find that video, I should send it to you because you would love it.
That's a cruel joke.
Oh yeah, and then when they landed and stuff, the guy was like, I don't know if he was scared or just, but by then he knew that the guy could fly. He obviously told him, "No, I'm a pilot. I already have my pilot license." So he's like, "Wow!" But it was so funny to watch.
We actually, so that Friday morning, it was 1 o'clock lesson. All morning it was a blue sky and not a cloud. It's clear as it is. It's gorgeous today. And when I got up there, it was pretty overcast, which is not a factor for us. But my first ratings, VFR, Visual Flight Rules pilot certificate. So we take off, and he was flying the plane, and he said, "Let me show you something." And we climbed up over this cloud. It was pretty steep pitches. Like, let me see if I can get over this cloud. And so we got above this low cover cloud, and you could see some land. And he just wanted to show it to me, like how beautiful this is. And I asked him, because I know this from him, it's illegal for a Visual Flight Rules pilot to fly through a cloud.
Oh, yeah.
Against the law. Of course, he's instrument rated, so it's a non-issue what we were doing. He said, absolutely it is. I said, so what happens if someone like me as a VFR pilot gets stuck above cloud cover? And he said, that's going to be a problem. You don't want to go up there if that's the case. And he said, I'm instrument rated, so it's not a factor, but let's get out of this because it's getting even cloudier. And he had this little hole in the clouds, you could see the ground. He just kind of like shot this hole at a pretty steep descent in this turn, and it was amazing.
So I gotta ask you a question. When there are no clouds, where do they go?
I don't know.
Huh?
I got a question for you. I got this thing that pops up on my screen. Let me get rid of this. What does Geronimo say when he jumps out of a plane?
He didn't jump out of a plane.
That's fine. So I said to him, I'm explaining to him, my instructor, who just turned 20 years old this week, which is hysterical.
Really? Wow.
All of his ratings, he's got his jet ratings. He's going commercial for a career. He's got all of it already. So I said to him, I was explaining some of my fears. Like when we decrease our speed, when I push the throttle, pull it out to go from 2,300 RPMs down to 1,500 RPMs, and the whole thing slows down and you can hear everything. I said, I just feel like the plane's going to fall out of the sky. And and he's like, yeah, it's not. And so we're down and I'm saying goodbye in the office, and he says, maybe I should just take you up there and scare you and to show you what this thing can do. And I go, I think it's funny that you don't think you've done that yet, and I think you have. And he says, oh, no, I haven't. So I thought about that all the way home. I'm not sure I'm ready to make that request, but
wow, that's awesome.
Maybe it would get me past the jitteries I have. But
crazy, man.
It's fun. It's very important to be creating a momentum to these lessons. I was always told for years, make sure you're taking lessons often enough that when you take the next lesson, you're not spending any time relearning what you already learned and forgot because it's been so long. So I was always told 3 lessons every 2 weeks is a decent minimum rate. And he goes, I think 3 lessons a week. So I'm kind of doing 2, but if one gets canceled for whatever reason, weather or whatever, then it's going to be suddenly we're down to 3 every 2 weeks. So I threw a couple of extra Sundays on the schedule, just trying to compress the time frame. And so next couple of weeks, I'm going to have 3 a week, Sunday, Monday, and Friday. So
one of my friends, which is one of the owners of Silver King Brewery, posted this week that he's at Red Rocks at a concert.
Oh, who's playing out there?
I forget who it is that I was trying to remember who it was, but I can't think of it right now.
Oyster Bone?
No. Oyster Bone doesn't play in small places like that.
Small little nothing venues like Red Rocks. You wouldn't want to.
That's on my bucket list. I told you that.
Play there or to go there?
To go there. One time you hit 2 of my bucket list things on one trip. You went to Red Rocks to see Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see Tom Petty, which is too late now, but I also want to go to Red Rocks.
And we saw that. That was like 6 months before he died. Crazy. Yeah. Red Rocks is still there. That's not going anywhere. So you're good.
So do you have any idea how many people, how many seats they have there? Or?
I don't. 10,000, I'm guessing, 8 or 10,000. And they're not really seats. They're just big, huge, notched in, like concrete blocks, that you can sit on, but you got 3 or 4 feet behind yours, and you can walk in front of them so you can lean back. It's comfortable being that you're sitting on concrete blocks. And there might be, there probably is seating way up front, but we were on the concrete blocks towards the back. There's not a bad seat in the house. And, so the further back you are, the more you're looking down at the stage. And they got the big screens. It's amazing.
Now, how's the sound with all the rocks and stuff?
It was amazing. And they have the lighting into the rocks. It's like in the middle of these 2 300-foot crevices, and it's amazing. And they have them all backlit for it's beautiful, beautiful spot.
So Fig Newton's no longer with the Patriots, huh?
I heard that too. I don't know. It seems like I haven't followed it really closely, but it seems like most of what he was doing there was kind of a disappointment. He never really rallied to what everybody hoped he would do.
So I really liked him when he first came out and when he was rookie and stuff. He was awesome. But then I think his antics kind of took over his football or something. I don't know.
Mm.
Always wearing all kinds of crazy, what I think is crazy
Ego.
outfits and the hair thing and all that stuff. He was more interested in being, look at me,
Hold on,
being a football player.
Ego. Your ego is not your amigo, Tony.
Ooh, I like that.
Let me write that down. Be sure to.
So now you can hear it. Let's see if we can do it. Ah, close.
I was right on. Is there a,
See, I think
so?
there's still a little delay.
Well, I think that is not me. I think
I think if you, instead of living in Worcester, Mass, if you moved to Rhode Island, it would cut the delay down a little bit and we'd probably be right on time. Work
if
on
I
it.
lived in like Lutz,
Lutz. How do you know about Lutz?
I got a cousin who lives there. I'll be seeing him today. He's up in we're having a memorial luncheon for my dad
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
this afternoon, and he's my first cousin who's coming in from Lutz for the
Wow.
luncheon. It'll be beautiful. Yeah, we got a small, intimate group, family and friends of my dad's, and about 37 or 8 people. And
At least you know how
a
to
good
pronounce
friend.
it.
Well, I learned it from him because I used to say to everybody else, Lutz. You live in Lutz. He's like, it's Lutz.
So
But if I bet I lived in your area, maybe Oldsmar, we would. I think there's a little bit of a video delay because I promise you, on that audio, I am nailing that perfectly.
well, I know you are.
I know, really.
So we had a diamond one down here that was in a town called Sneffner. I'm sorry, not Sneffner. Seffner is the name of the town. He called it Sneffner.
Snuffed.
And then he says they have a grocery store here called Publix.
Publix.
It's Publix, but you're saying, so I go to the grocery store called Publix in Sneffner. I said, wow.
And you said, you're not from here, are you?
Oh, you're not from here.
I'm familiar with Publix. My son lived in Florida for some time, and he would rave about Publix and that daily sub they have at the deli side. And
I mean, it's a good store. It's a little more expensive than some of the other ones, but it's pretty good.
mm.
Yeah.
He talked about these pre-made subs, and they were incredible. He lived up in Apopka. Get some funny names down there.
A lot of funny names in Florida.
Just north of Orlando, Apopka. Yeah.
And, you know, the town I live in, Oldsmar, you know what that name came from?
Tell me.
R.E. Olds, which was the guy that started Oldsmobile, founded this town, this city.
Really?
And so because we're right on the water, we're in the Gulf of Tampa Bay, so they're called Olds because of his name, and Mar because Mar means ocean or something like that in Spanish.
Well, it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Oldsmar.
Oldsmar, yeah. R.E. Olds is the guy that started this. I don't know how somebody found this city.
R.E. Olds. Reminds me of those old names, like when you think about like 1950s business meetings. R.E. Olds. E.E. Johnson. All those initials.
So when we came to America, the first car that my father bought was before he had his driver's license. Because my
He
oldest
bought a
brother-
car before he could drive.
Yeah, because my oldest brother already had a driver's license. So he bought a car that was a family car. So my brother was the driver, and he'd have to take everybody to the store, to church, or whatever we needed to do. But when nobody needed a car, he could use the car for his, to go do whatever he wanted to do. And then when my other sister finally got her driver's license, then my brother bought a car, and she became the family driver. And then another sister got a car, so got her license, so she was the family driver, and so on. Then when it was my turn, I was a family driver, but the car was like an old Buick Electra 225,
Mm-hmm.
big boat. And so my father says, maybe we need to get another newer car because this one's kind of old and stuff. I says, yeah. So we go to Washington Street Motors, which is an Oldsmobile store in Hudson. We're looking around. He says, so what do you like? I says, I like this one over here. It was a '67 442 convertible. Remember this is a family car, so we're supposed to take the family to the store or whatever they needed to go to church, whatever. There was only a two-door, and everybody had to move the seat and climb in the back, whatever. So he bought it for me, or bought it for the family. And that was my car.
Wow.
That was my car for like 2 years.
442. Oof,
442 convertible. I was a cat's ass, buddy.
I bet. That's when you would do that. That's what would you call that turn with the no seatbelts and the bench seat and
Well, on that one I couldn't do it.
bucket seats.
Yeah, but the other seats that I had, there was like a full bench in the front.
Yeah.
It was a COD turn.
COD, come on over, dear.
I would think the stuff that we used to do, like a vinyl thing to clean the seats, and it was slippery. So as you're driving, and you have a girl in the front seat, you put your arm on top of the seat like this, right? Then you do a sharp right-hand turn, and she slides over, and I say, "Hey, how you doing?"
How you doing?
COD turn.
Oh,
You have a good memory, you know that?
well, that was only a few weeks ago when I heard that for the first time.
Wow.
Oh,
So where are you guys getting together for your father's memorial?
there's a really nice restaurant in Worcester called Joey's. It's spectacular. And I'm excited because there's a few people locally who are going who've not been to this restaurant before, and
Ah,
I'm excited to turn them on to it. So, and they were so wonderfully communicative. I got a good friend of mine who he lives there, and I texted him like, "Hey, what are some contact names?" And he texted me back, and so I called and I popped in, and they were so communicative, so helpful. And the cool thing is, we have a private room, and there's only 36 of us, 38, so like 6 tables of 6. My dear friend Peter, who's a pastor, Pastor Peter is going to come and do like the officiating, the eulogy. And I got a bunch of stories to tell, and a few other people want to tell some stories. We have a private room from noon to 3. But the restaurant doesn't even open till 4, so it's only opening for us,
yeah, cool.
which means we got this private room, but it will spill out into the dining room. And there's a bar out there. We got an open bar for a couple hours. I see you've already started, but we got an open bar. And it'll be a nice time. I was thinking I could just get up and start talking, but earlier this week I kind of put pen to paper for the first time because there's some certain stories that I don't want to leave out. And then yesterday, and then this morning again, I did a bunch more. And at this point, I mean, I'm looking forward to this. Give me a nice day. And certainly a celebration. It's sad, but it's hardly tragic. My dad was 95 and a half, Amazing. What a legacy.
So Terry is a minister,
Yeah.
and she does, instead of funeral, she does celebration of life things.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody passes away, one of her clients, someone will hire her to go over there with celebration of life. And first time I saw one of those was when I lived in Leominster. My next door neighbor passed away. So, we're good friends. So, went to the thing thinking it was going to be like a regular funeral. And they didn't do that. It was a celebration of life where her friends and family told stories about her.
Yeah.
And they had everybody laughing. It was so cool because they told stories about who she was, and I knew her, but not as well as some of those people. So some of the stories they told was so awesome. I just thought that was better than going to a funeral and everybody's like sad and stuff, and they're just talking about the good things about that person. It's a good story.
Kind of, yeah. I'm looking at this afternoon like much more like a celebration of life. In fact, in my opening, I have the word celebrate in there. And I also purposely kind of waited. It's been 12 weeks. He died on June 5th. So we've had some of that time behind us to do the grieving and that. And it's not that it's over, but it is a celebration. There'll be a lot of laughter, and there'll be some tears and crying too, I'm sure. But it's great people who are going to be in the room. I was thinking about, his nieces and nephews are there. So one from Lutz. And so, uncle and grandfather and dad and neighbor and friend and
from Lutz, Lutz, Lutz,
Lutz, Lutz. Get it right, Sneffner.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, what do you guys have planned for your anniversary? Anything going on special? 44 years. That's amazing.
What's funny is that we don't do much more, since 9/11, the real 9/11. We just don't do as much as we still, between us, we celebrate, but we don't go out and do a big thing about it.
Mm.
It's just that day is so
except for
crazy.
this, except for mentioning on this podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
So now we got 10 or 12,000 people who now know it's your anniversary, which is good.
So now Joe Rogan knows.
We'll probably get a card from him.
Yeah. Why not? He can do it.
Some sort of buyout offer. How much do you guys need to stop doing this no hissy fit zone thing?
So how was your gig on the 4th?
Oh my gosh, we had a lot of fun. We had a VIP area set aside that nobody was in.
I know that you sent me that video. That was so cool.
The weather was so perfect. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So, and we had a great time. People seemed to enjoy the music, and we had probably 25 people, come and go, and a few people hung out afterwards late, and it was spectacular. It really was a lot of fun.
So what do you guys do? Like 3 sets?
We did two. It's a funny thing, they're coming to my house, and so I never really thought of myself as the host of this party. I'm just it's a side yard gig. We're going to play some music, but at the same time, I'm like, I kind of want to have time to visit with some of these friends, and it's weird to be playing music and not be able to talk to people. So
Right.
pretty quickly after three, we jumped in and did a first set. Plus, we got food going, so we had a grill that was getting lit after the first set, and so we did about 45 minutes or 50 minutes, and took a break, probably 20 minutes, and then was able to see some people who had arrived during our music and chat with them. A few people were leaving. And then the second set, it was probably 45 minutes or 50 minutes. And some people ate at the first break. I ate after we were done at the second set. It was probably, I don't know, 5:30 by then.
That's
And
good, yeah.
it was just nice to kind of connect with people and chat. And the weather was spectacular. And late summer, it gets like it happened this past week. It just became fall like that. It's chilly overnight, and days are a little bit shorter in terms of darkness. And so there was
Yeah.
beautiful. I mean, I thought we're just going to be sweating to death all day, but who cares? Because it's music and fun. Not at all. It was beautiful. There was a breeze, something around my house in that side yard. There's always a breeze coming up this tunnel, and it was spectacular.
So when we play Oyster Bone, you know how we always do like a mic check?
Yeah.
So Michael says, the mic check, and so everybody says, test 1, 2, test 1, 2. And then, bass player, then John says, test 1, 2, test 1, 2. And then the drummer says, test 1, 2, test 1, 2. And when it comes to me, I say, test 1,340. Test 1,341. Test 1,343. And people usually laugh a little bit. Then after we first finish the first song, when people clap and stuff, I always say, okay, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. After the first song. If people don't know if they think it's funny, if they're like, already? Just played one song, you're going to take a break? I said, we're union. We can't play too long,
We're,
without.
I was really looking forward to. There's a lot of, I spent. Boy, it was a busy day. I was up and doing all sorts of stuff, and of course, I got this apartment I'm trying to get done, and fixing up the yard and getting that ready. I'm like, well, I might as well get my drums out there. So I bring my carpet out, and I got this brick patio area. I got my stuff out there. I get my drums out there, and I'm just getting them set up. And Barry, the bass player, pulls in with his truck, and so I was all set up when I went to go take a shower and get dressed. And but after it's done, it's like, man, there's a lot of breakdown. So all that stuff's got to get back down into the studio. A lot of food's got to get cleaned up, and then people are kind of leaving. I was really looking forward to one of the I mean, there's so many highlights, but one of the highlights of the day was I'm walking back up the long sidewalk off the street, and the last person's just left. Everything's put away, all the stuff's put away, and Lynn is walking out of the house with a bottle of wine and 2 glasses, and she's headed for the patio. And we just sat there and had a glass of wine. A little breeze was happening because at this point it was probably 7:15 or 7:30, so it's getting dark. Just to be able to sit back and just kind of savor what just happened.
She keeps proving that she's a keeper.
Keeper.
She's a keeper. That's awesome.
She's meeting a bunch of new people today for the first time, some family and some friends, and be nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
And thankfully she got to know my dad in very short but profound ways.
So you remember how last time we did one, you couldn't hear the sound because you couldn't hear the cymbal stuff because it was cutting it out. So in the last podcast, I actually went through it, and when you said something funny that I didn't do a rim shot, I actually put them in.
Oh, you edited them in.
Yeah. So you were funnier than you thought you would. You were.
Good to know. It's good to know.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So this time I'm going to give you a half a second delay if I'm on my side. Huh?
So I bet that looked perfect to you, and I was early on the audio.
No, we were good.
Well, I'm just telling you what
See?
I was late, wasn't it?
No, you were good, but I was late on purpose so that we'd be together.
Oh, now I'm confused. Oof.
I'm actually doing something that doesn't fit with me just to make you look good.
It's not about you.
That's not about me, it's about you.
You've been hearing that your whole life, Tony. It's not about you.
No, it's not about you. Oh, man.
Whew. My mom years ago she had this frame, or picture frame. It's 5 feet wide, 2 feet, 5 by 2, and she put this felt background down and just collage of family pictures over the years and years. And gosh, this thing's been around for 25 or 30 years because I've moved it several times for them, and I've had it. So this morning on my list of things to do was I was cleaning up the frame and bringing it today to the restaurant just to have it on display, like on an easel with this big, huge, and there's so many pictures. My parents' wedding picture from 1960 is in a lot of pictures of my sister and I as kids, and then back further generations. So it's a really neat piece to have, especially something like this, because all these people can look at all these old pictures. So, but I didn't expect to happen. So I'm out there cleaning up, and I went to slide it across the back seat of my car, and it wouldn't fit.
Oh.
So I literally what do I do? I really want to have this here. So I texted some friends of mine earlier, and I had been in their car last month, big SUV. And so I said, by any chance, are you driving that big SUV to the luncheon? Would you mind stopping by here to pick up this frame that I just found out doesn't fit in my car? So I just heard a little commotion downstairs. I think he just knocked on the door and took the frame. So all the little pieces. I got thinking last week, like I have to put together some, I guess people call it a mass card or a prayer card, but some sort of, something tangible that people can have and take away as a remembrance. I thought about it a week ago, and I'm like, I got to put this together quick. And so I contacted a printer this week, and God bless them, they put this together fast. But I had 2 pictures on the front of him. One, my dad immigrated here from Ireland in 1949. So in 1954, I have his, I think it was called the Alien something receipt card. It's a long name. And then it got shortened to its color, which was green. So they just called it a green card, which of course everybody knows that term. So this is his original green card from 1954, this picture. He's so young, I almost didn't recognize him. And so it's a beautiful keepsake. I'll show it today. But I took a picture of that picture with my cell phone, and it was pretty good. And so I got this card made, 4x6 postcard with that picture, and then a picture of him a year or two ago smiling with his name and his dates. And I had the old famous Irish blessing on the back. And so I just got that done, and we put it together, and I picked it up yesterday. So all the errands are done. Now we just got to show up and have a celebration.
So your sister was Betsy, right?
Yeah.
How old was she when she passed?
47.
47, wow.
So that'll be 8 years. It's 8. I was just thinking about that, doing the math on this, because she'll be gone 8 years this next month, October 17th. So, which is, math, she would have been 55 this year. Like,
do you have any other siblings or no?
No.
Oh.
So yeah, so she, what's that fancy term? She predeceased my parents. Like my parents.
She had cancer?
Yeah, colon cancer.
Oh.
I'm looking for in a healthy 45-year-old woman at the time, which is why I kind of snuck through. So by the time they found it, it had metastasized to her liver, and it was kind of a death sentence at that point. But my parents went through something that is just no one's supposed to go through. It's not part of to bury a child.
I can't even
Not the way it's
imagine.
supposed to be in the bigger scheme. So
So I have several friends up in Hudson that lost children because of that. What are when they shoot up heroin,
yeah. Huh.
and I guess some of it was laced with can't think
Fentanyl,
of fentanyl. Yeah, but
bad stuff.
at one time I saw something where they had these parents of people in Hudson that lost children to overdose of heroin, and they had like a support group they got together, and they had 180 families in Hudson that had lost kids to heroin. Wow,
Oh,
I can't even imagine something like that. That's so crazy.
yeah. It is. It's staggering. It's kind of become like when you hear a story about some kid who passed away like in their 20s, that's the assumption you make versus cancer or a car accident or something else.
Something else, yeah, yeah.
You know, funny when I was thinking about this, and I'll mention this afternoon at the luncheon too, but I was with my friend Craig at his office, and Craig and his wife Desiree will be there today, and they were friends of my dad's, and they were friends of mine, but they met my dad through me, and they were friends of my dad's, and he says to me one day, "How's Bob doing?" And usually I have a pretty good ability to kind of go, "Well, everything's fine," and not get into it. But I said, truthfully, he's not doing great. This was probably May, and kind of filled him in on some stuff and his age. And suddenly Craig had this look on his face of like wonderment. And he said to me, "Bob's going to die of old age." And I was like, it was such a sobering for me. I'm like, wow. And I was remembering back to when I was a kid, like in the 70s. And I would ask my mom, like, "Oh, how did that person die?" I remember my cousin's grandfather died, Renato. And I wasn't related to him. It was through marriage, but my cousin's grandfather. So I said, "How did he die?" "Old age." And that was a common term back in the
Yeah,
70s, old
yeah.
age. And then it went away and it was replaced by cancer and all this stuff. And so I'd forgotten I didn't forget the term, but it's kind of dropped out of our vernacular today. And what a blessing. My dad died of old age. I mean, it's amazing.
So my mother's 92. She can tell you stories from 30 years ago and doesn't miss a thing. I mean, she tells them perfectly every time and always the same way. But if you ask her what just happened 30 seconds ago, she can't remember. But one time her cousin came over to her house, with my grandmother's stuff, and said, "Hey, my dad woke up dead this morning."
And she didn't mean to say it. It just kind of
Yeah,
came
just
out and
he woke up dead this morning. She was all upset. I said, "What's the matter?" She said, "Well, my father woke up dead this morning."
you laughed.
Oh, no, I wasn't there. That was before me. But the first time my mother told me the story, I thought it was funny, but it's not funny. But the
I
way she
mean, it
said it,
is, but I got it. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, some of the funniest stuff that we talk about um, wasn't funny at the time, but enough time passes and then it's hysterical, right?
So, your kid's mother, Linda, does she stay in touch with you guys? When your dad passed away and
Oh, yeah,
stuff.
I talked to her yesterday. As a matter of fact, she's living in Florida. And she was saying, "Hey, you got a big day tomorrow." And she's, we're terrific. It's all good. And so
Yeah.
we just talked yesterday. And she's like, "Please say hello to everybody for me." And she's actually getting ready to move back to New Hampshire, which is kind of exciting.
I was
Your
just thinking
daughter, what?
I should probably get an envelope with a cassette tape in there, get her address in Florida, knock on the door, say, "Hey, I got to take this thing for you to listen to. It's a great opportunity. I won't give it to you unless you're going to listen to it." And then when she tried to grab it, I'd say, "If you're not going to listen to it, I'm not going to give it to you." Actually, it'd be nice to see her.
She's over in Sanford area, Orlando-ish.
Stanford, yeah, yeah, I know that is.
You've only got a couple of months. She's leaving in November,
So
moving up to New Hampshire.
one time I saw Extreme in St. Petersburg, Florida. Then I saw him the next day in Tampa, in Ybor City. And I saw him the next day in Sanford.
Really?
Yeah, that's pretty
Is
cool.
that the Three Sides tour?
No, no, that was a different thing. It was Three Sides was at USF Sundome, which is
I don't know.
USF is the college here in Tampa.
Yeah. The great album. Is that still stuck in your CD player?
Yep.
Yep.
I don't know how to get it out. I guess one time I did, because what I did is I started hitting the button like the jet several times, and all of a sudden it came out. I says, "Oh, good! I know how to do it now." But no, it went back in, and then I can't get it out. So I have to listen to it all the time.
Could be a lot worse
I
than
should
that.
sue them. I should sue I should sue Toyota or sue Extreme. I think.
I think you should.
I mean, for
See
me,
what
listening to
happens
that,
with that.
me listening to that CD every day of Extreme is actually Extreme, isn't it?
That's extreme listening.
Yeah. Oh
A
yeah.
masterpiece, though. My goodness. If I had to pick an album to be stuck with, that would be in the top 10
There's
of
some
my
good stuff.
list.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
I told you when I saw them play that live at the USF Sundome, they had either 5 or 6 piece horn section with them.
Like, well, for that album, they had to. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was so cool, man. Wow.
And of course, you and I know that they have another album ready to go, ready to come out,
I know.
which I'm excited about. It'll be fun.
I guess the story for not having it out yet is that because of COVID they couldn't tour.
Right.
So the idea with the new album is if you have to be on tour, so everybody goes to the show and listens to the songs, then they buy the CDs and stuff and put them in their car that sticks it in there, doesn't bring it out. Maybe they did this on purpose.
They put that special little chip in there that it
That's
doesn't
called
come.
the Toyota service department said, "Hey, my friend's coming over with his car for an oil change. Can you make sure that the CD doesn't come out?" Huh?
Mm-hmm. I wonder what they're going to call this new album. You don't know that, do you? You know the name?
I don't know. No, I didn't ask.
Because the last one was, they used some Portuguese language in the last one.
Saudades, yeah.
Saudade, which means what?
Well, saudades is like when you're missing something, but there's no real translation. It's one of those things where, you haven't gone to home for a long time or something. So the saudades, I don't know if there's a word for translating it, but it means a lot of things. But it's mainly that you're missing something.
So the name of the album is Saudade de Rock, right?
Yeah, saudades.
So you've been missing rock music, and here this is.
Yeah, yeah.
That's nice.
So and one of the islands in the Azores is called San Miguel, which is the biggest island there. And I guess 2 years ago they're supposed to do a tour there or a show at the thing called Set Cidades, which is like 7 cities, but it's not 7 cities. It's seven holes in the middle of a thing with like a mountain, but there's like seven holes with a pool like down there of water. It's a beautiful place.
Wow.
So they're supposed to play there, but they couldn't because of COVID. So I think it's going to be next year is when they're going to be doing it. We should see if the keeper can find us a nice travel package. Put her on her shoulders.
That might be fun. Wow. It'd be cool if they kicked off the tour there and had the new album out.
That'd probably be better than Red Rocks, to be honest with you.
Red Rocks is nothing compared to what you just said. What was
It's Set Cidades. Set is 7. Cidades is cities. So that's what they call it, Set Cidades. But it's if you pull up.
It's funny because you know what they call my town here, Worcester? They call it Seven Hills.
Do they?
Yeah, because there's 7 hills here. I can't even name them all, but yeah, 7 hills.
I thought that was funny that last time we talked about the island I was from.
Santa Maria.
Right, you asked me if I knew how many islands were in the Azores, and I said 9. You said, "Oh, you do know." Why wouldn't I know?
I did. I was a little surprised by that.
You knew there's 14 counties in Massachusetts.
I do know that.
See?
How do you know that?
You told me. Because we were talking about how in some states they don't say what town they're from, they say what county they're from.
That's a big Jersey thing.
Yeah, it's a big. Florida's like that.
Is it really?
Yeah, some people say, "Yeah, where you live?" I'm in Pasco. Oh,
I'm in Pinellas County. Pinellas County.
I'm in Pinellas County, yeah. But sometimes people use that as the place where they live. That's not. They don't say the city they're from. They don't say, "I'm from Tampa."
Right.
They say, "I'm from Hillsborough County."
What county is Sneffner in? Because I used to shop at that Publix over there.
It's Hillsborough County.
You know that. Nice. How about Lutz? Where's Lutz?
Who's in Hillsborough?
Nah, because I'm gonna see my cousin there. Maybe I'll drop that on him and I'll be impressed.
Duluth is up close to between Hillsborough and Pasco, so it's it might be.
Hillsborough,
I think it's in
Hillsborough
Hillsborough.
County. Hillsborough County.
It could be Pasco, but I think it's Hillsborough. If we can solve this, we're done. This is awesome. So one of the things you said for today's podcast is you wanted to make sure we're dead on 11 o'clock. We've got to be done because you got stuff to do.
Well, I got to go host this luncheon.
Yeah.
For Bob.
So is there takeout on this Sunday or not?
What's that?
Is there a takeout?
We got. It's gonna be a nice meal. We got a nice buffet going on.
So you know how I have all these stupid jokes and I have stuff on my phone. There are a bunch of jokes of pictures of stuff that's funny.
I have no idea what you're talking about. No.
Yes, you do. So I was at this restaurant, right? And I know the people I was with were going to try to pay because they always want to pay, right? So I didn't want them to do that. So I actually wrote something on my thing, make sure I get the check, and then I took a picture of that. I did it as if I was sending a message. I took a picture of the thing, and so then I said to the waitress, "Hey, I'm having a problem with my dial tone. I hooked up to your Wi-Fi, now my dial tone is stuck." She goes, "Huh?" So I showed her a picture of my dial tone, That was funny.
Yeah.
I got one more thing to show you. I went to that thing that says, "I want to make sure I get the check." And she goes, "Make sure I get the check?" I'm like, "No, you're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to just say okay." Oh boy.
If she were a bank teller and someone was trying to rob the bank, they'd be in trouble because she wouldn't get it.
She wouldn't get it.
Put all the money in a bag. What does this mean? Put the money in a bag.
Jones, this guy wants all the money in the bag. What am I supposed to do now? Mr. Jones.
He'd say, "Put the color packs in there." Wow.
So my bank, I don't like my bank at all.
Uh-oh.
Well, I wrote a check for $15 and it bounced. One of them says, "What kind of bank are you? You guys only have $15 to cover a check?"
And it cost you 32. Well, that's fine.
32, you mean like 30 also?
30, that's right. No, 32, but 30 also, or whatever.
32 also.
Once in a while you catch me, because I've heard them all from you. Once in a while you catch me. That's funny. What bank are you?
What kind of a bank are you? You can't even cover a check for $15? Come on, man. I'm going to close my account and go someplace else.
Oh, I'm losing. That was funny. I might have to open with that today at the luncheon.
Yeah.
Oh, always a pleasure, my friend. Happy anniversary to you, and give my best to Terry.
I will. Yeah, she's at a class today. She's always learning that one.
44. Here's to the next 44 years together.
Ooh. Hold on now.
Hold on. That's a lot of That's a lot of time for extreme listening. I like that, extreme listening.
Extreme listening.
I think I might have to go listen to 3 Sides later on today.
I should send Nuno a text that I think I sent him a text one time that that CD 3 Sides to Every Story is stuck on my CD and I'm not mad. But no, I should tell him, hey, listen, this whole thing is still there, so this is extreme listening.
He would probably get a kick out of it.
Well, one time I sent him one thing that's kind of, it's really funny, but it could be kind of not for everybody.
Yeah.
And he liked it, but then he says, "Man, that's really funny." But then he says, "You're an effing a-hole," or something like that. I says, "Wow, I didn't deserve that."
Maybe you did.
Maybe I did.
It depends who you ask. He thought you did.
I'd have to send it to you so you can see. I can't explain it.
That's funny.
But I said to him, "Man, I'm having a tough time. So I don't think
He's calling right now. He's watching the podcast live.
I said, "I don't think I'm able to play the guitar anymore for a while." He says, "What's up?" I says, "Well, I slammed my thumb on my car door." He said, "What?" We were just texting.
I knew what you sent him.
Oh, he says, I said, "I'll send you a picture." At first he says, "LOL, that's funny," but then he came back and says, "You're such a..."
F&A.
Yeah. He was concerned for me that I couldn't play because my thumb was slammed in my car door.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
And somebody told me that visual is actually created from when Tom Brady hurt his thumb and he couldn't play or something.
Oh.
I don't know, just one of those things.
That made its rounds on the internet, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up. I got to get going over to this luncheon and celebrate Bob.
All right, man. It was fun.
Talk to you soon.
See ya.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
See you later.
One more time. Well, this time you went early. You're trying to guess the system.
I'm just messing with you.
I know you are. I like that. All right, buddy.
Talk to you soon. Take care.